We enter the 90s. Yes. So classic series that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Winnipeg Jets and the Edmonton Oilers, and I've cobbled this together using the old logo, and I've had to use the new logo as well because I don't have a bunch of really nice magnets with the old logos on them. So otherwise, I would have used all old logos. I might use them a lot if I had them. So with the Winnipeg Jets, they were a frustrated franchise during most of their first time around in the NHL. This might be the most frustrated that they ever got. This was a series that Winnipeg probably should have won. The Edmonton Oilers, this was the 1990 playoffs where they had that last hurrah. Now they were 38, 28, and 14 going into the playoffs. 315 goals for, which was sixth in the NHL. 283 goals against, which is ninth. They were not the Edmonton Oilers of the mid 80s anymore. This was definitely them coming down. The Jets, 37 wins, 32 losses, 11 ties, 298 goals for, which was seventh in the NHL, 290 goals against, which was 12th. And the storyline in this one would end up kind of being goaltending. Now, I had mentioned in the 1989 one how Grant Fuhr, that was kind of his last hurrah. And 1990, a guy named Bill Ranford came along, and Ranford turned out to be a pretty important player for the Edmonton Oilers. Not early, though. Definitely not early in this series. Game 1, in Edmonton. Craig Simpson scores from Charlie Huddy and Yari Curry at 5:04. Howard Chuck would tie it from Evans and Peslowski at 11:44. Power play goal then for Craig Simpson from Tikkanen and Gregg at 14:17. We get another power play goal from Edmonton. It's Curry from Simpson and Tikkanen at 16:58. That makes it 3-1 Edmonton. But the Jets fight back. It's Dave Ellett from Olesen and Elenick at 18:21 that makes it 3-2 entering the second period. Early in the second period, a shorthanded goal by Mark Messier because, of course, the Oilers still very good shorthanded. Assist to Yari Curry on that one at 35 seconds. So it's 4-2 Edmonton. They're at home. All the momentum. But Mo Mantha would score from Peslowski and Evans at 2:04 to make it close. And then Howardchuk would score from Peslowski at 13:46. So Greg Peslowski, pretty good game for him. That's 3 helpers. Not too bad for a guy who wasn't known as an offensive player. And that evens things up nicely. So we go into the third period. In the third, Elenick scores from Mo Mantha and Thomas Steen at 1 minute and 46 seconds. We then get a power play goal around the halfway mark. It's Ashton from McElwain at 9:55. Peter Klima would score on the power play from Rotsalainen and Smith at 13:39. I don't know why I always mixed up the S and the T in Rotsalainen. I always had it Rostalainen. I don't know why that is. So I've gone through and fixed it wherever I've seen it because I did fix it about halfway through. It's something back then. Rostalainen's what I called him. And it's Rotsalainen, right. Empty netter then by Teppo Numminen in 1936. And the Jets win a wild one, 7-5 over the Edmonton Oilers. Essences saves 32 out of 37. Bill Ranford saves 24 out of 30. This is round 1. So the idea that the Oilers are going to win a Stanley Cup after that game 1, I don't think there was anybody picking them. Game 2, we're still in Edmonton, of course. Brent Ashton scores from Mantha and McDermott at 5:39. And then it's a power play goal. Paul Fenton. Yes, that Paul Fenton. He scores from McDermott and Mantha at 18:41. It's 2-0 for Winnipeg after 1. Remember, they're up 1-0. They could steal both games in Edmonton. Shoot themselves in the foot. Craig Simpson scores from Smith and Tikkanen at 3:09. And then it's Joe Murphy from Buchberger and Lamb at 12:45. And then it's Mark Lamb scoring the game winner in the third period from Curry and Smith at 4:21. Yep. Stefan Beauregard saves 27 out of 30 in that loss for the Jets. Yeah, they didn't go with Essenza in back-to-back games. And Ranford saved 23 out of 25 in the win. So Essenza wins game 1, and Beauregard ends up in the net in game 2. So we go to game 3. We're in Winnipeg. All right, Winnipeg trying to assert themselves at home. But early on, it's Rotsalainen scoring from Messier. Well, early is in the first period. It's power play goal at 16:35. It's 1-0 Edmonton after 1. Second period, Jets fight back. Fenton scores on the power play from Ashton and Mantha at 9:35. We go to the third period, and who gets the game winner? Of course, it's Dale Howardchuk at 15:30. The Jets end up holding on. They win this one 2-1. Bill Ranford, 28 saves on 30 shots in the loss. Bob Essenza, 15 saves on 16 shots in the win. So the Jets do an excellent job at keeping the Oilers away from their net. And Essens ends up getting the win. So that's a 2-1 series lead for the Jets. Could have been 3-0 if they could have held the lead in this one. So game 4 in Winnipeg. Peter Klima scores from Buchberger at 2:07. So early on, Peter Klima on the board. Kumpel would score from Hawerchuk and Steen at 4:45 to tie it up. Elenick then scores from Hawerchuk at 11:42. So Hawerchuk on the board again. Evans would then score from Elenick and Steen at 12 minutes and 4 seconds. That makes it 3-1 for the Jets. Cue the comeback. Shorthanded goal for Steve Smith from Messier and Curry at 18:01. And then in the second period, in the last minute, and those goals are key, Tikkanen scores from Lamb and Ranford. So goaltender on the board at 19:25 of the second period. Third period solves nothing. We go to a first overtime period in Winnipeg. That also solves nothing. The second overtime period, that's where there's a power play goal scored by Dave Ellett from Thomas Steen at 1 minute and 8 seconds. The Winnipeg Jets are up 3-1. They can knock out the Edmonton Oilers and officially end their dynasty. Ranford, 36 saves on 40 shots in the loss. Essens has saved 15 out of 17, was replaced by Beauregard. Beauregard saved 16 out of 17 and got the victory. So game 6, or game 5, I should say. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Game 5. The Oilers are down 3-1. And the Jets should have ended it here. Tikkanen scores on the power play for the Oilers from Curry and Simpson at 8 minutes and 8 seconds. But with 1 minute left exactly in the first period, Thomas Steen scores on the power play for the Jets from Mantha and Elenick. So it's 1-1. Second period, Pazlowski scores from Hawerchuk at 1:55. Then the Jets get a power play and they score again. It's Ashton from Olesen and Newman at 7:47. Halfway mark of the second period, they were up 3-1 in Edmonton, and they can win the series. They can win the series. They can finish it. Much like over here, they have a 2-0 lead, and they blew it. And let's see what they did in this one. Simpson scores from Muni and Messier at 13:57, and then 13 seconds later, Lamb scores from Tikkanen or Ruotsalainen. So at 14:10, it's tied. Third period, it's Messier from Anderson and Simpson at 3 minutes and 53 seconds. The Oilers end up holding on and winning the game 4-3. Beauregard saves 29 out of 33 in the loss. Ranford saves 26 out of 29 in the win. The Oilers survive to fight another day, but they're down 3-2. Game 6 in Winnipeg. The Oilers, well, they made it difficult for the Jets right away. First period, it's Tikkanen from Messier and Ruotsalainen at 5:29. Messier scores unassisted at 9:50 to make it 2-0. And then it's a power play goal for Dr. Randy Gregg from Lamb and Curry at 15:52. So 3-0 Oilers after 1. So if you were a Jets fan, you had to be kind of not liking things at that stage. Second period, Mark Kumpel scores from Donnelly and Hawerchuk at 11:35. Third period, down 3-1. The Jets show some fight. It's Smale from Hawerchuk at 3:44. Doug Smale, one of my favorite Jets of all time. Evans then scores from Steen at 9 minutes and 17 seconds to tie it. It's a tie game. All you got to do is get that fourth goal, Winnipeg. You can go to the second round. You can knock out the Oilers. And in round 2, who knows what might happen, right? No. Jari Kurri scores from Lamb and Tikkanen at 13 minutes and 10 seconds. And the Oilers win this one in Winnipeg 4-3. Ranford saves 23 out of 26 in the win. Essens saves 26 out of 30 in the loss. And one storyline that is emerging in this game, or in this series, is Ranford. Lots of confidence in Ranford and Edmonton. Not a lot of confidence in the goaltenders for the Winnipeg Jets. Essens is not being given the net to run with it. Neither is Beauregard. And whether or not that added to the problem, I don't know. I do know that both goaltenders wouldn't go very far into the 90s as members of the Jets. And Ranford ends up becoming pretty important for the Oilers the rest of the way. So, Game 7 in Edmonton, and, sadly, if you're a Jets fan, it doesn't go well, but this is why when Jets fans are like, we want our history back from before the team moved to Arizona. No, you don't. It's all heartache. That's all you're asking for is heartache. If you want the WHA history, that's fine. The NHL doesn't want that anyways. They don't keep track of anything WHA. They almost don't admit that it existed. Anderson scores from Greg and Ranford at 8 minutes and 54 seconds. So Bill Ranford with 2 assists in this series. Thomas Steen then ties it from Elenuck and Newmanen at 9:21. So about 30 seconds between goals. But Mark Lamb scores from Anderson and Lowe at 17:52. Lamb was not a scorer in the NHL, and yet this series, he was. Can't explain it. It's one of those playoff things that happens. Second period, no scoring, so we go to the third. In the third, Tikkanen scores from McTavish and Curry at 5:09, and then Curry scores from Lamb and Smith at 17:48 to finish it. The Oilers win at 4-1. Beauregard saves 21 out of 25. So again, the constant switching of goaltenders continues to the detriment of the Jets, probably. Ranford saves 26 out of 27 in the defining game, that Game 7 victory. The Jets had a 3-1 lead. They could have had a 3-0 or 2-0 lead, which could have led to 3-0 right here. Just they found a way to shoot themselves in the foot. The 3-1 lead here. They tie the game up here. They tie the game up early here, and the Oilers were just the better team. Curry ends up with 3 goals and 7 assists in this series. Key because he's known as being a player that relied a lot on Gretzky, but he played fine when Gretzky wasn't there. Tikkanen, 4 goals and 5 assists. Big playoff performer, he's Esa Tikkanen. Lamb, 3 goals, 5 assists. And Ranford, 4 and 3 in this series with an .899 save percentage. On the Jets side, Hawerchuk, 3 goals and 5 assists. Steen with 2 goals and 5 assists. And Elenuck, 2 goals and 4 assists for 6 points in the series. Beauregard was 1 and 3 with an .886 save percentage. Essenza was 2 and 1 with an .880 save percentage. And so that kind of encapsulates what happens with the Jets in this. They showed a lot of fight. The depth was in favor of the Oilers. You'll notice that the kid line doesn't really factor into this series. The kid line, which was Jelena, Murphy, and Graves. And it doesn't really factor into this series much at all. That would be later on in the playoffs. And yeah, the Jets, they were this close to moving on to the next round, and who knows. But this was kind of the problem with the Jets that first go around. They would get close. There were a lot of series you could look at and say, oh man, if only, but they never got over that hump. And this was one of those cases where it looked like it was their best chance, and they just missed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.